So now, before we get into games again, we're going to go through the list of options, right? When you're deck building, the most important thing is to always have in the back of your mind your list of options and then count spots for those options. So when you're building a deck, you're going to have your main deck and then you're going to have about 6 unique cards that you're thinking, okay, these cards are potentials for my deck, and that would be stuff like Hapless, stuff like Third Grasp, stuff like Deadbloom Wanderer, now that's not in the deck anymore, stuff like Third Monkey Idol. Mostly cards that aren't in your deck at all are going to be your options. In this case, maybe like Black Market Merchant for the Yoink package, potentially, which is pretty good and totally could hit this deck. But the reason it's important to go through your options is because this is the process, this is how deck building works, and this is how deck building needs to work. So you're going to see me sit here for 3 minutes before we go into the next game, and you're going to see me look at all the cards and count in my head what I want my options to be. And then Missed Call, for example, is a pretty strong option. I think it's just kind of like a bad version of Rekindler. For how this deck wants to play, we're going to memorize our list of options in our head, and we're going to be thinking to ourselves, okay, in this position, in this one spot. So a spot is just a decision point. That's all it is. It's just literally a single instance where you're making a decision. And we're going to be like, oh, what if we had this card in hand? We're not going to be looking at the cards in our hand. We're not going to be thinking, what if this card... It's not... Okay. So some people will do this where they'll look at Hired Gun and look at Deadbloom, and they'll be like, well, it's either Hired Gun or Deadbloom. And then they're going to be in the game, and then they're going to have Deadbloom in a hand where Hired Gun would have won. And they're going to be like, well, okay, if my Deadbloom was Hired Gun, we would have won that. And that's the swap, so I should take my Deadbloom out and put in Hired Gun, based on this sample size of 1, which is insignificant, but, when you're counting spots, the sample size grows really fast, right? Now, what I will say to this is that it doesn't matter what's in your hand, it doesn't matter what's in your deck. The only thing that matters is how the deck plays and how many spots each card hits. It doesn't matter if you have Hired Gun in hand or not, the opportunity cost. It's just whether Deadbloom hits that spot, period. It doesn't matter, nothing else matters. It's just you're just looking at the games, you're looking at each decision point, you're looking at the win rate swings of each potential card option, and you're like, man, would this card be good here? Now, you need to count by spots. You can't count by wins or losses. Do not deck build with the idea of, oh, I won this game, therefore this is good, or oh, I lost this game, therefore this is good. The simple way to understand this is because it's all about sample size. When you're counting by spots, you're literally increasing your sample size by 2 orders of magnitude, right? Because you are going to be, you're going to be, you can play 5 games and you can count 7 spots where this card is good. And whereas, if you're counting by wins, maybe you count maybe at 1 win where this card is good or something like that, or less than 1, right? It's just much less information. So when you're deck building, you want to have your deck, have all the, it could be a list of 3 cards, it could be a list of 10 cards. Just have a list of cards. If you want to, literally just write the list and put them on the side. And then just kind of count spots. Every time you're thinking about your decision in the game, also just look at the list and be like, ooh, this card would be good here again. And then 10 games later, you'll have a really high sample size of just cards that would be good in different situations. So I've seen a lot, people say it looks weird that I will scroll through the deck builder, spend maybe even 10 minutes, change literally nothing, and then just queue for the game. But that's really, really, really important to do. That's my deck building process. This is, by the way, part of the reason that I play so slowly. I know it frustrates a lot of you guys, but I'm not only thinking about the game that I'm in. I'm thinking about oh, this card could be this card here. I know some of you guys want me to play faster, but this is also how you make good decks. So in terms of this deck, this is kind of a bad example, honestly, because there's not really a lot of options for this deck to have. Riptide Rex is definitely an option. That could fill the Rekindler slot. Although it's really hard to run Riptide without Warning Shot, in my opinion. I could definitely see running the Yoink package, although I'm kind of already playing it out in my head right now, and I don't feel like it's being great. This deck actually feels really rigid. I think there's fairly few changes I can make to this. The biggest one is the Yoink package, and there's certain meta techs Hapless Aristocrat or Salvage swaps, those kinds of meta techs could make sense in different metas, but I'm not even really going to be thinking about them right now in this current meta. So even though I just went through all that explanation, this is not a great example of a deck that I can really do that process in, just because this deck is kind of already pretty much in almost the only state it could be, right? It's got a very small amount of wiggle room, and the wiggle room basically just exists in terms of quantities, like third grasp, third monkey idol, that kind of thing, right? It is important, like, even if you just kind of want to be a net decker, like, there will be plenty of times where you'll gain some advantage by changing up some of the ratios. Because, you know, people play different playstyles. People might do things based on playstyle that are not suited for yours. You might want to tweak some of the cards in your deck. You really might want to. Teemo Zed. So this is going to be just pure aggro. Usually a Kinko deck. I think this is going to be a Kinko deck that runs Teemo. Usually when you see Teemo Zed, I guess. Am I keeping Monkey Idol? We have 2 Monkey Idols in this version of the deck, and we actually have a developed early game. I think I will keep Monkey Idol here. Really looking for Thresh to hit. If I draw Thresh in the next, like, 5 draws, I feel really good. And that's 5 draws is a lot, by the way. Because I don't need it to show up until later, it's like, it's not something that we have to hope for. It's just something that has a good chunk of a chance to happen. Hard Gun hits big. And, you know, this is a spot we're counting. Top deck, I mean, this is not really the nuts, because we're not going to use it for several turns, but no, I think it's the nuts. Yeah. Even as it is now. It's like, if I could have picked my top deck, it would have been Thresh. If I only could have picked it for this one turn. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with Hired Gun over Dead Bloom Wanderer. Like, if we want to think about, if you want to, how this game would have played out if we had Wanderer instead. The Hired Gun felt really great here. It's fulfilling my smooth curve as well, which is really nice. Second Monkey Idol. These are the kind of positions where, like, third Monkey Idol would feel really terrible, right? Spot counting. It's like, this is part of the reason why we're not running 3 Monkey Idols, because drawing 3 is kind of universally completely awful. Now, that's a niche situation, so it's a small part of the reason, but I do have to say, it is part of the reason. I think I'm pretty happy with this open attack. I don't know, I could play the other deckhand first. I don't know. I think I'd rather just, like, play my other Monkey Idol, right? Really, like, aggro flip this Thresh. So he could Thermo Beam the Monkey Idol here. If he does, we've got the Glimpse. This is gonna be a really fast flipping Thresh. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. What the hell? Okay, sweet. We got Thresh to make it rain off of this. Green Glade Duo is a great card for me, unless he just kills me really fast with it. So, we're always just going to keep passing until he plays more cards and attacks. Then we're going to make it rain and hope that he doesn't have a ton of answers to this, and hope that we hit these 3 like any good players would. Fuck. I mean, this is above average, so I can't really complain. Alright. I mean, this is like a pretty funny Thresh situation, guys. Observe. What the fuck, dude? Holy shit. That's so fucking gross. Oh my god. So now we have to play around Will of Ionia by open attacking, I think. It's just too important. We can't get countered by Will here. Normally, I want to say, a really common misplay people make is they'll open attack against like PNZ, Ionia, Shadow Isles. You usually actually want to develop against the control decks, but because we're vulnerable to Will with just how Thresh works, we want to get the trigger off, we need to be open attacking. Now, we're at 8 health, which is pretty nasty. Like, this game is perfectly losable. If he, like, starts with a Will here, keeps alive, and then threatens, like, the elusive kill condition. Like, his hand is Monk and Shadow Seer, right? And we don't actually have, like, lethal. The funny thing is, Kegs, if Kegs worked off of Powder Monkeys, we would have lethal here. The Keg is giving me an out. Oh, God. I think I might have to, like, glimpse my Thresh or something super weird here. Don't I? I'm pretty sure I'm actually, like, glimpsing Thresh here. Wow. He has to pay a lot of mana to counter that. Because, like, the Thresh can't matter anymore. It's the... Okay, so we will... He's at 3 health, and he's gonna go down to 2 because of the Powder Monkey. we're gonna kill him literally no matter what next turn. So the only thing that matters is increasing as much as possible our odds of surviving this one last turn, right? So Make It Rain gives us sort of theoretical lethal, which is nice. Now, there is one downside to the Make It Rain, which is that we're not summoning the other keg. Summoning the other keg... It's actually so easy for us to need Vengeance. I think we will need Vengeance. I actually don't like summoning the other keg. Usually he'll kill the keg, and I actually need to keep my mana up so that I have Vengeance Glimpse. Like, the Glimpse will threaten lethal off of the Monkey Idol. The only way he can stop that is with Will or Deny, and then because I'm saving mana here, I'll have enough mana for Vengeance, which increases my odds of staying alive. Whereas if I play the deckhand, he's just gonna Mystic Shot the keg anyway. So, it's... I need the mana. It's just too important. I know it looks like a weird play. But Vengeance is just kind of like how we're potentially winning this game. So his Teemos are both 15. So yeah, I'm just going to Vile Feast one of the Teemos and like Vengeance the Solitary Monk, I think. Keg Vile Feast? I mean, the fact that we just drew Vile Feast does kind of change this play a bit. You could do like a Keg Vile Feast, but then we're tapped under Vengeance. That just seems worse. Because even if his card is Deny, could his card be Deny? Oh man. This is actually not necessarily easy. I think the safe thing to do is to just pass. 3 idols would have won. Okay, so we shouldn't be thinking that 3 idols would have been good, but what we should think is that because 2 idols was so good this game, maybe we do want to go to 3. I mean, we should be able to survive now, I think. I think so. I could go down to 2 parlay. I love 3 parlay, man. I would cut a lot of things before I would cut parlay, I think. But I like cheap cards. I mean, we're going down a bit here. We're out of plenty of ranges. I mean, we can still lose to like a Twin Disciplines, though. Man, it's so sad that we're like 1 off of lethal. I don't know. This is like a good hand for him to have. Like, the Kinko into Shadow Assassin is like the nuts for him. So yeah, the monkey doesn't work off the keg. Keg doesn't affect Death Wishes. Grasp is a good draw. It's like a safety range now, which is really important. So, he can't afford to lose a single point in health. Our monkeys are just short. If I open attack with Gangplank, he'll be forced into like a Will. Or potentially a lethal range. Slow speed damage. Are there scare cards at slow speed? Concussive Palm doesn't really matter at slow speed here. I don't really care about that 2-3 unit. So you always have to ask, are there scare cards at slow speed? What is there? Not really. Static Shock could draw him into a lethal that he might not have had otherwise, but we've got Grasp and Static is expensive. I just wanna summon more things, I think. There's plenty of hands that are gonna make us need Grasp here, so now I have to attack. The Gangplank is always at the end because he'll level up off of any damage on these. Now these aren't dealing damage, but I mean, we can dream. So he needs to now stop this Gangplank interaction. He needs like, okay, so Grasp is kind of nice here. We're threatening lethal at the same time. We do have the option for Glimpse as well, which does literally nothing here. Oh God, grasping this is like so risky, man. I have to grasp this. If he has Mystic Shot, get excited, we lose if we grasp this. I mean, we can't beat that hand. It's impossible to beat that hand. I have to grasp it. Man, this feels so bad, dude. Is it actually possible that grasp isn't the play here? I don't think it could be. It's still the highest mathematical odds to grasp. But yeah, this game felt a lot more awkward than it should have been. Like, so let's go ahead and evaluate really kind of what went wrong this game. You know, because we're spot counting. We're thinking every single turn, every single decision. So what went wrong this game? We took a lot of damage really early. That's what went wrong. Like, our health got too low too early. And part of that is, like, the double Monkey Idol into Thresh play is a very slow play. And, you know, our healing abilities are pretty expensive as well, right? So, I mean, this is definitely, like, a big win for Hired Gun. This is, I think, a very, very, very big win for Hired Gun over Deadbloom. Because we would have been way too heavy on, like, 3-mana cards. Hired Gun was able to pick off that Teemo nice and early. I mean, Deadbloom has lifesteal, and that's really nice. But it loses to PNZ because of Mystic Shot. At this point, I'm very confident that Hired Gun is basically a better version of Deadbloom. Makes perfect sense, okay? Misplayed by not hitting all elusives with Make It Rain earlier. I mean, our Make It Rain was still above average. See, like that, it's an important game to evaluate because we had a good hand and we still lost, right? I'm pretty sure we lost. We were negative on equity at the end. That's the same as a loss, by the way. It's not a win just because your MMR goes up. Like that was a loss. And that's weird. Like, we shouldn't have been that far behind. Do you take risk reward into account while playing? Well, yeah, of course. Lacking reach like this an argument for going into Warning Shot and Rex? Yeah, lacking reach was a big deal as well. Just being like that 1 or 2 point short. I think that came down to a very specific hand though. Like normally we do have a little bit of reach. Just like that tiny amount we need. I don't know, that was a bizarre game near the end. Remove Vengeance. Vengeance was bad there. Vengeance was like a bad player in that game. If this Vengeance was like third Grasp, it feels a lot better in that kind of game. And it could be anything. It could be a lot of things. Listen, I don't like Vengeance that much as a card. Okay? Like, you know, I wouldn't mind getting rid of it. How often does Riptide kill what Vengeance would kill? I mean, Vengeance's fast speed is too important. It's like, I don't think that's a comparison that can be made. I feel very happy with how that went overall. I think that was just kind of like a very much of an anomaly game. Like, everything about how that game played out was very weird. If anything, I might want to be in a third Monkey Idol. Because A, double drawing Monkey Idol is nice, and B, giving you that bit of reach you need is nice. Like, I could easily cut a Vengeance for a third Monkey Idol. But the thing is, Monkey Idol is an extremely slow card, because it takes several turns to work, and it doesn't really have great defensive capabilities. So the thing you really have to understand is, like, it might be a 3-mana card, but if I'm going to cut something, I have to cut a card that's slow. I have to replace it with something also slow. I'd happily replace Vengeance with a Monkey Idol. And that would be better in, I think, a lot of games.